To enter a freeway. A. Signal, yield to existing traffic, and enter at the same speed that traffic is moving. B. Signal and enter the freeway. Freeway traffic must yield. C. Drive slowly so you can check traffic. D. Always come to a complete stop first. A. Signal, yield to existing traffic, and enter at the same speed that traffic is moving. When merging into traffic, you should signal and enter at the same speed that traffic is moving. Always yield to other traffic when entering a roadway. You are coming to an intersection with a flashing yellow light. You should A. Stop and wait for the light to change. B. Make a U-turn because the intersection is closed. C. Drive carefully through the intersection. D. Prepare to stop, the light is about to turn red. C. Drive carefully through the intersection. A flashing yellow light means that you should proceed through the intersection slowly and with caution. Scan your eyes across traffic in both directions. A steady green light at an intersection means that you A. Must slow down and prepare to stop. B. Must stop and check for oncoming traffic before proceeding. C. May drive through the intersection if the road is clear. D. May not turn right. C. May drive through the intersection if the road is clear. A steady green light means you may drive through the intersection if the road is clear. You may also turn right or left on a steady green light unless a sign prohibits the turn. When turning, you must yield to other vehicles and pedestrians within the intersection. If you miss your exit on an interstate expressway, A. Stop and make a U-turn. B. Get off at the next exit and come back to the exit you missed. C. Roll down your window and ask the driver next to you for help. D. Back up on the highway. B. Get off at the next exit and come back to the exit you missed. If you miss your turn or exit, do not back up or try to turn around on the highway. Go to the next exit and safely turn around.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
A yellow and black diamond-shaped sign. A. Warns you about conditions on or near the road. B. Helps direct you to cities and towns ahead. C. Tells you about traffic laws and regulations. D. Tells you about road construction ahead. A. Warns you about conditions on or near the road. Warning signs, which tell you about conditions on or near the road ahead, are usually diamond-shaped with black symbols or words on a yellow background. If there are two railroad tracks next to each other, A. It is always safe to proceed after one train passes. B. You must always stop before crossing the tracks. C. When one train passes, look for another train on the other track before proceeding. D. Honk your horn as you cross the tracks. C. When one train passes, look for another train on the other track before proceeding. If there are two railroad tracks next to each other, watch for a second approaching train after one train passes. Do not begin to cross the tracks until you're sure no train is approaching from either direction on either track. This sign means A. All traffic must turn. B. Turn right at the intersection. C. Parking area ahead. D. Crossroad ahead. Watch for traffic. D. Crossroad ahead. Watch for traffic. This sign warns of the presence of a crossroad ahead. You may drive around or under a gate that is being lowered or raised at a railroad crossing. A. As long as an approaching train is not too close. B. If your vehicle can do so without damaging the gate. C. If you first look carefully in both directions. D. Under no circumstances. D. Under no circumstances. Flashing red lights, lowered crossing gates, and/or bells at a railroad crossing mean that you must come to a complete stop. You must not go across the tracks until the lights and bells have stopped and the crossing gates are completely up. Do not drive around or under a gate that is moving up or down. Is it legal cross a double solid yellow centerline to pass? A. Yes. B. No. C. If there is no oncoming traffic. D. If the vehicle ahead of you is driving under the speed limit. B. No. Two solid yellow lines down the center of a two-way road mean that neither lane of traffic may cross the lines, unless they are turning off of the roadway. A driver can cross double yellow lines when turning into or out of a driveway or entrance to a business. No passing is allowed over a solid yellow line. This sign means A. A divided highway ends. B. A one-way street begins. C. A one-way street ends. D. A divided highway begins. D. A divided highway begins. This sign indicates that the road ahead becomes a divided highway. Keep to the right of the divider or median. What is a no zone? A. A designated no passing zone. B. A one-way traffic area. C. The blind spot of a large vehicle. D. An area designated for motor vehicles. C. The blind spot of a large vehicle. No zones are the large blind spots around trucks and other large vehicles. Drivers of smaller vehicles should avoid lingering in no zones. Defensive driving is A. Driving aggressively. B. Using safe driving strategies to prevent crashes. C. Driving against the traffic. D. More dangerous than not driving defensively. B. Using safe driving strategies to prevent crashes. Defensive driving is using safe driving strategies to prevent crashes. This means that you alter your driving to fit the weather conditions, the way you feel, and the actions of other drivers, bicyclists, and pedestrians. When two vehicles arrive to an intersection at the same time, which one has the right of way when no signs or signals indicate rules? A. The car approaching from the right has the right of way. B. The car approaching from the left has the right of way. C. The car in which the driver sounds his horn first has the right of way. D. The car that is traveling the fastest has the right of way. A. The car approaching from the right has the right of way. At an intersection of two similar roads without a traffic control device, a driver must yield to a vehicle approaching from the right. When approaching a school bus stopped with its stop arm extended, drivers should A. Come to a complete stop and wait to proceed. B. Honk their horn before passing the bus on its left. C. Continue driving when they think most kids are probably done exiting the bus. D. Pass the bus before its door opens. A. Come to a complete stop and wait to proceed. When approaching a stopped school bus that is using its stop signal, a driver is required to come to a complete stop. They should not proceed until the stop arm is withdrawn. The act of turning your head and checking your blind spot before changing lanes, driving away from a curb, or merging your vehicle into traffic is A. A bad driving habit. B. A good driving habit. C. Unnecessary. D. Not necessary if you use the rearview mirror. B. A good driving habit. When changing lanes, it is important to check your blind spots. Do this by looking over your shoulder toward the next lane. Do not rely only on your mirrors. Which statement about speed is true? A. Driving too slowly on certain highways can be dangerous. B. Speeding can kill. C. Speeding is not dangerous if you are a skilled driver. D. Both driving too slowly on certain highways can be dangerous and speeding can kill. D. Both driving too slowly on certain highways can be dangerous and speeding can kill. As speed increases, the chance of a fatality increases. If you are moving faster than 80 miles per hour, you have almost no chance of living through a crash. Driving more slowly than other traffic can also be dangerous because other motorists may become impatient and make dangerous moves to pass you. Two solid yellow lines on the pavement mean A. Passing is allowed for drivers from both directions. B. Passing is not allowed. C. Passing is allowed if you are at the top a hill. D. Passing is allowed during daylight only. B. Passing is not allowed. Yellow lines tell you that the traffic on the other side of the lines is moving in the opposite direction. You should never cross two solid yellow lines to pass from either direction. When changing lanes on a highway, you should A. Signal a lane change. B. Check your rearview and outside mirrors. C. Check your blind spot by glancing over your shoulder. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Anytime you want to change lanes, you should properly signal your intentions well in advance, check your mirrors, and check your blind spot. You can check your blind spot by glancing over your shoulder in the direction that you plan to move. You are driving on a narrow road when you meet an oncoming vehicle. You must A. Pull completely off the road and stop. B. Allow the oncoming vehicle at least one half of the main traveled portion of the road. C. Demand the other vehicle pull over to make room. D. Turn on your high-beam headlights to make sure the other vehicle sees you. B. Allow the oncoming vehicle at least one half of the main traveled portion of the road. On narrow roads, you must allow vehicles traveling in the opposite direction at least one half of the main traveled portion of the road. Both vehicles must have adequate space in order for the drivers to safely pass one another. Which of the following statements about railroad crossings is true? A. It is against the law to go around lowered gates at a crossing. B. You must stop at a railroad crossing when directed to do so by a flagger. C. Not all railroad crossings are equipped with flashing red signals and gates. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. You must stop at a railroad crossing when directed to do so by a flagger, stop sign, or warning devices, such as gates or flashing lights. Not all railroad crossings are equipped with such devices. It is against the law to drive around lowered railroad crossing gates. What do speed limit signs indicate? A. Potential driving speeds for the area. B. The maximum or minimum speed that is legally allowed to be driven. C. The speed drivers should drive in heavy traffic. D. The speed drivers should drive under poor conditions. B. The maximum or minimum speed that is legally allowed to be driven. Speed limit signs indicate the maximum or minimum safe speed that is allowed to be driven on a roadway. The maximum limits are for ideal conditions and you must reduce your speed when conditions require it. What can help you sober up after consuming alcoholic beverages? A. A cold shower. B. A large coffee. C. Exercising. D. Only waiting. D. Only waiting. There is no quick way to sober up or to get the alcohol out of your body. Drinking black coffee, taking a cold shower, exercising, or eating might make you feel more alert after drinking alcohol. However, none of these actions affect how quickly alcohol leaves your body. Hydroplaning is usually caused by A. Excessive stops. B. Sudden stops. C. Sudden turns. D. Excessive speed. D. Excessive speed. Your tires become less effective at clearing water from the road as you increase your speed. If you drive too fast, they may lose their grip entirely, leaving the vehicle sliding on a film of water. This is known as hydroplaning. Lanes of traffic moving in the same direction are divided by fill in the blank lines. A. Yellow. B. White. C. Red. D. Black. B. White. Solid white lines are used to separate lanes traveling in the same direction as well as to mark the right edge of the road. Broken white lines separate lanes traveling in the same direction and may be crossed to pass. Yellow lines separate lanes of traffic moving in opposite directions. This road sign means A. You are about to enter a one-way street the wrong way. B. School crossing ahead. C. Do not drive in this lane. D. Traffic turning left on the green light must yield to oncoming traffic. D. Traffic turning left on the green light must yield to oncoming traffic. This sign is used with a traffic signal to tell drivers that left-turning traffic does not have the right of way and must instead wait for oncoming traffic to clear.